Hi class, welcome to our next video lesson. This video lesson is titled 11.5 Day 1. We're talking about area of sectors and segments today, and this video specifically is talking about the area of a sector. Let's define what a sector is. A sector is a region of a circle bounded by a central angle. A region of a circle bounded by a central angle. So like this blue region right here, this is a sector because this red angle that I just drew, right, and then it's bounded by that central angle. The angle that I drew is the central angle. So the sector is this blue shaded region right there. Okay? Sometimes I almost kind of think of it as a pizza slice. A pizza slice, sometimes people say, is a triangle. Well, it's not a triangle because it has a rounded edge. So it's actually called a sector. Okay? So these are all sections or sectors of the circle. Here's how you find the area of a sector. The area of a circle is pi r squared. And then the number of degrees of the central angle, or the degrees of the sector, you multiply that by pi r squared. So it's just a portion, the whole circle, pi r squared gets the amount of square units in a circle. But if we're just looking for a certain section or sector of the circle, we have to take the number of degrees divided by 360. So as you can see here, n equals the number of the degrees. So if this angle is 100 degrees, or if this arc is 100 degrees, that number goes in for n. Okay? So let's practice this first one. Find the area of the green sector if the radius is 5 inches long. So, of course, this part right here is my green sector, and the angle is 135. So if the area of a sector is n over 360 pi r squared, the area equals 135 over 360 pi r squared. And what's the radius? The radius is 5. So we're going to write our answers in two different ways again. One is the exact answer, and then one way the approximate answer multiplying by pi. So 135 over 360, we got to multiply that by pi and multiply that by 25, right? Because 5 squared is 25. So watch as I do this in my calculator. 135 over 360. If we reduce this fraction, 0.375 is the same thing as 3/8, and we have to multiply that by 5 squared, or multiply that by 25. So 75/8 pi. The area equals, and you multiply these two together, you get 75/8 times pi. And this is in units, inches squared. Square inches. So this would be our exact answer. And as always, we like to have the exact and the approximate. So let's multiply 75/8 times pi. So multiply 75/8 times pi. And we get approximately 29.45. 29.45 inches squared. All right, let's try the next one. Kind of a similar example. This time, though, it gives you the circumference. The circumference of the circle is 8 pi. What is the area of the red sector? So the area of the sector is n, 75 degrees over 360, times pi times the radius squared. Class, if the circumference equals 2 pi r, and our circumference is 8 pi, that equals 2 pi r. How do we get the radius? Divide by 2 and divide by pi. So then we get 4 is our radius. So 75 over 360 times pi times 4 squared, or times 16. So this one we'll just have the approximate answer. We'll put all this in our calculator. 75 over 360 is this number, times pi is this number, times 4 squared, times 16. It is 10.47 square units. 10.47 square units. Area is approximately 10.47, and our units are centimeters squared. All right, let's try one more of these sector questions. This time, A sector of a circle has an arc measure of 40 degrees, so it's telling us the measure of the central angle or the measure of the arc. The area of the sector is 26.8 centimeters squared. What is the diameter of the circle? All right, the area of any sector is n over 360 pi r squared. The problem is telling us what n is. The measure of the central angle or the sector has an arc measure of 40 degrees. That's the measure of our central angle. And it tells us what the area is. 26.8 is the area. Now we can find the radius, and after we find the radius, we can double it to get our answer of the diameter. So 26.8, you're in on the left side, that equals 40 over 360 pi r squared. Let's now solve for the radius. What I would do first here is multiply both sides by 360, and that would get rid of the denominator. So we're going to have 26.8 times 360. 26.8 times 360 is 9,648. 9,648. 9,648. That equals 40 times pi times r squared. Let's divide by 40 and let's divide by pi and we'll get r squared by itself. Divide by 40 and divide by pi. So we'll approximate this. We'll use the pi button in our calculator. 9,648 divided by 40 and divided by pi. Divided by 40 is 241.2. and divide it by pi. So 76.78. 76.78 equals our radius squared. So how do we get the radius? We square root both sides, of course, right? So the square root is 76.78. The square root of 76.7763, so on and so forth, is our radius is 8.76. Our radius is 8.76. And our answer, it tells us, let's find the diameter. So the diameter, of course, we would just multiply it by 2. The diameter equals 2 times 8.76. So let's double our radius. Multiply by 2. 17.52. Our diameter is 17. My smartboard stopped working. Sorry, everybody. Diameter is 17.52. And our units on this one, do we have any units? Let's see. Is centimeters. 17.52 centimeters. All right, that is the area of sectors. Let me know if you have any questions on that when you get to class tomorrow.